one of the first trips of the year. Just doing the checklist in my mind. One of the things, I always got one of these marker buoys around, just in case, even though we got some of the best technology ever on our boats, and just going through and doing a mental check, making sure I have everything. Hey guys, while I was getting stuff ready for my first trip of the year, and something popped in my mind. Maybe some of you guys don't know why or how or where we use so many different length rods in crappie fishing. Now we use rods as short as 5.5 foot all the way to 20 feet. And I thought maybe today I'd go real quick over some length rods and why we use them and why we use our rods as tools. Stick with us, more to come. Alright guys, just as we were talking earlier in the video, we're going to talk about different length rods, why we use different length rods, and why we use them as tools. And just to preface this a little bit, if some of you golf, you know that you can't drive off the tee box with your putter, and you know you can't putt with your driver. So that's why there's certain golf clubs, certain tools that you use for certain applications, and fishing is no different. And so I want to show you, and I want to talk to you a little bit about what each rod length and what application we're going to use. So one of the first things and I'll start with a shorter rod. And so this particular rod from Janko, this is their Marksman 6-foot rod. And as you can see, it's got really nice cork handle on it. And the overall length, again, is 6 foot. And we use this for dock shooting or shooting up underneath pontoons. And so I'm not gonna cast with this rod. I'm just gonna be shooting up underneath docks, shooting up underneath pontoon boats, shooting that jig back into certain deals. And I can't shoot that with a 11, 12, or 14 foot rod. So I'm gonna need a shorter rod. We're gonna be a little closer to our target, and we're gonna be shooting towards objects and you can see these targets, so underneath boats, underneath docks. So that's why I would use this 6-foot rod. Then we get in a situation where we want to cast, and so I'm going to get a little longer rod, and I'm going to get a 7 to 8, even 9-foot rod. But I'm not going to go over a 9-foot rod for casting. So a 7 to 8-foot rod is something I'm going to use for casting. And that's why I'm casting a jig using no cork, just a jig, and I'm casting to the bank, or I'm casting over a brush pile. And a 9 or 10-foot rod, it's kind of hard to keep it in front of me and feel the sensitivity of the bite. So I want a little shorter rod, a 7 to 9-foot rod, and something I can cast and retrieve slowly, or kind of work in front of me. A lot of times when you get to that 10, 12, 14, 16-foot rods, it's got a longer handle, and you can't work it in front of you like this. So I like to be able to cast and retrieve real slow. So that's for casting. Then from where I'm from, we use a lot of jig and cork, or some may in the South call it a cork and fly or fly jig rod. And this is a 10-foot Slab City rod from Janko. And a 10-foot rod, I'm going to have it rigged up with a cork and a jig. And this is something that it's 10 foot long, and I can reach out and I can kind of vertical jig in place with that cork. I can kind of just go up and down if we're fishing trees, anything within about 10 foot of the boat. So I'm really getting close. And then if need be, if I see something just off to the distance, I can make a quick cast or something like that with that jig and cork. And that's something that we do a lot here. So this 10-foot rod is going to give me that ability. One of the things on the lakes that we fish on up here in the north, some of the channels, we don't have a lot of main lake structure. So all of that is in the channels. So sometimes the channels are pretty narrow. I may even troll with this 10-foot rod so we can make turns and we can, maneuver around other boats. Where a 14 or 16-foot rod, you just can't maneuver and you won't be able to fish very well. So this 10-foot rod is a tool for that. 11-foot rod, and you say, well, Matt, what's the difference in 11-foot and a 10-foot rod? 11-foot, again, it gives you another foot, and then fishing, a foot's a lot. And this is what I'm going to vertical jig with no cork. This I may be vertical jigging with a quarter-ounce jig even, or an 1/8 ounce jig, and I'm going to be just vertical jigging. And this rod's got a lot of backbone. I'm going to be able to reach out there and being 11 foot, get just a little further away so I can kind of drop on them a little bit. And with the oncoming of the new technology of live scope, they're coming out with 12 and 13 foot rods. And Jayco's got a 13 foot rod, the top section to get you 13 foot. And so you'll be able to get out there 13 feet away from the boat, and notice that you're not spooking the crappies as bad. So that's going to be real key to be able to reach out there and drop a jig on those crappies and not spook them. So that's what the 10 to 11 to 13 foot rod's for. Now, what's really cool is when you're doing a lot of open water spider rig trolling. Now, this particular rod here is a Janko Slap City 16 foot rod, and we troll like off here. You can see the front of my boat, and we're going to both be seated up here, right here in the bow of the boat, and we're going to have these 16 foot rods and rod holders, and they're going to be going right off the front of the boat, and that's going to get your bait rig or your jigs really far away from the front of your boat. That way you're not spooking fish, you're not causing those big fish to run away from you. And also, when you're picking up a 1.5 pound to 2 pound crappie and you got a 16 foot rod, that rod is going to do all the work, and you're less likely to lose fish when you've got a lot of rod. Let that rod do its work and get that fish into the net, so it doesn't cost you money in a tournament or cost you fish in a skillet. So as you can see, I have a wide variety of rod lengths and rod types, stiffness of rods, if they got a lot of backbone or they're real soft, but it's for an exact application to catch those crappies whenever that particular situation arises. And all these rods are always in my boat, multiple lengths, different sizes, so whatever happens out on a tournament day, I can get after them, I can get them. Guys, if you like the content and what you hear today, make sure you hit the subscribe and the like button, and don't forget the notification bell. That way when we put new videos out, you'll be able to notify when they come up. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope these videos put more fish in your boat and in your bucket.